Okay, so I think we can start. Let me start by introducing myself. Yeah. My name is Marlon Lezama. I'm a consultant with the Milli9y project. This is the World Bank funded project that is being implemented by the Ministry of Innovation, High Education, Science and Innovation. Let me see if I could just get an understanding. How many of you speak English? How many speak English? Can you put your hand up? Okay. And how many of you speak Russian? Russian? Okay. So you have more people speaking English than Russian, is that correct? Because I'm going to speak in English. The presentation would be in Russian. All right. So when you do the presentation, the written words would be in Russian, but I'll speak in English. Unfortunately, I cannot speak Uzbek, or I cannot speak Russian, but I have to learn to speak Uzbek. I heard it's not very easy language, but I will learn.
So it's not a problem. I'm going to speak Uzbek and translate the words.
Okay.
I do my best.
Sure.
And I will try to translate.
So let's see if you can. So let me start again by introducing myself. So let me start off again by introducing myself. Yeah. My name is Marlon Lezama. I'm an international consultant. I'm based in the United Kingdom. I was born in England.
Jahon Banki
But I've worked with a number of organizations globally. I worked with the World Bank for 10 years.
O'yindan beri Jahon banklari bilan ishlayapti. Katta tajribalari bor, aynan Jahon banki ishlayapti.
So I worked with the World Bank for 10 years in Washington, D.C., USA.
Washington DC'de oldin Jahon banki bo'yicha ishlayapti.
In South Asia,
Ya'ni Shimoliy Aziya,
in East Asia, and in Africa. I also worked for the United Nations for 7 years. And long before that, I worked for 16 years in the United Kingdom with an intergovernmental international agency. In all my work, I've been involved in aspects of innovation. And this program, as you know, is about innovation. The Milli9y program is about innovation. Now, I gather that most of you are from academia. So most of you are doing research, am I correct? So by a raise of hands, how many of you are doing actual research to develop startups?
Startup loyihalar bo'yicha izlanishlar asosiy kimlar hozir shug'ullanmoqda?
How many of you are doing research
startuplar bilan
to do doing startups, research? YouTube? And how many of you plan to do research to develop a new idea?
Yani ideyalarni kim xudo xolisa, yani boshlash niyatida turibdi.
Okay. So the impression I got is that a number of you would be involved in doing research to develop new ideas that can be translated into a new product. Am I correct in this? Can anyone tell me, just one person, what type of research they're doing right now? Just an example.
Kimdir qanaqadir hozir izlanish uchun hozir qanaqa izlanish qilayotganini
And one person stand up? Can you stand up?
Okay, I'm Mahsulot. I'm PhD, first course in PhD. I'm working with hydrogen energy storage system. As you know, the penetration of renewable energy source are growing day by day. The renewable energy source has some problems to the stability of the electrical system. In order to solve this problem, we need energy storage system. That's why I'm working with hybrid energy storage system. The hybrid energy storage system is, if you use more than two types of energy storage systems in one source, this is a hybrid energy storage system.
Excellent. That's great. And is this idea going to be developed into a product?
But it's quite difficult because of the products. In Uzbekistan, we don't have such products. We should order the products.
Okay.
For example, we need electrochemical battery and supercapacitor. If we could bring them, then we will do it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Anyone else to explain? Anyone else want to explain? You could speak in Uzbek and we will translate. Anyone else involved in any type of activity like that? Go ahead, yeah.
So, Harun Akademi Kingstown. Elektrik tarmoqlarida energiya sifat ko'rsatkichlari bo'yicha ish olib boryapmiz. 3 yildan beri. Sifat ko'rsatkichlar pastligi hisobiga elektr yo'qotishlar bor. Qo'shimcha. Shu sifat ko'rsatish bo'yicha smart selektorli qurilma bo'ldi, tayyor bo'ldi, hozir patent berilgan. Shu orqali sifatni ko'tarib, ya'ni yo'qotishlarni ko'tarib.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else want to give me an example of this project you're working on? Okay. I see we have lots of ladies here. Can one of you tell me what you're working on? You? Yes, yes. Textile. Yes.
hozirgi startapdagi loyihamiz asosan xatlarni bekatash to'qimalariga sport uslubi bo'yicha yangi bunda asosan bizga qiziqish uyg'otganimiz sport uslubi bo'yicha maxsus kiyim ishlab chiqarganmiz. Ushbu maxsus kiyimga ikki xatlarni bekatash, ya'ni ichki gigiyenik xususiyatiga alohida, tashqi ta'sirga chidamli holatda alohida usulda kompletsion, ya'ni biolentar har xil birikmalar orqali yangi sportga o'rgatdik.
She's working on special suits like sports suits with double layer inside the waist, and outside is moving back with special outside with next.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. But let's see if we can get a few more people in the back, because I want you all to hear. What about you, sir? Excuse me? You? Yes? Can you tell me what you're working on? That's it. What he's working on?
Hozir ham qisqasi.
Okay. Excellent. What are you working on? What research are you doing right now?
At the moment, we are working on education system, and we are working on virtual laboratories for physical biologies, and we are doing it about 1 year, and ta'lim tizimidagi virtual laboratoriya xonalarini virtuallashtiryapmiz. Bu asosida hamma o'quvchilar kirib virtual laboratoriya bajarishi mumkin.
They are working with education laboratories for education purposes.
Okay.
Maktabda, ko'p maktablarda virtual laboratoriya jihozlari yetishmaydi, bo'lgan taqdirda bundan foydalanish xavfli. O'shaning uchun biz qilgan ishimiz bo'yicha bemalol istagancha, masalan, cheklanmagan holatda laboratoriyalarni bajarib ko'rib, real hayotdagidan bir xil natija ola oladi.
There is a problem with the schools, like they have equipment, but it might be harmful for pupils who are working. That's why they are working with the virtual laboratories that will allow them work with expensive things. It may be way more safer to deal with real labs.
I see. Okay. All right. That sounds great. That's it. Thank you so much. Thank you. And what about the gentleman next to you? What about you? Tell us something about what you're working on. The same?
Same project.
The same product?
Okay. His center has one more project.
Go ahead.
The people who couldn't listen, they have a special concept project.
A special
for the people who are
for here.
for here.
Okay. Excellent. That's a good idea. Good product. Okay. Thank you. And let's see this gentleman over here. No, you. Yeah. I want to see what you're working on.
I have a PhD student, Micro Science Institute. We are working hydrogen energy, and we are taking the domes electricity. Elektr toksiz vodorod olishda biz kashf qildik.
They were getting hydrogen without electricity.
Thank you. And what about our friends here? What are you working on?
So I'm here and just last week I was just
Okay.
so I'm working on
No problem. And you, hello, madam? What are you working on?
She's trying to
Okay. Any of you doing any type of IT research on IT or applications?
dasturlar bo'yicha
So it's an IT application.
Yes.
Excellent.
Hozir boyagi nima aytdingiz?
Evet.
Startup partnership.
No, that project is
Asosiy
startup.
Excellent. Okay. Anyone else doing IT related product? Yes, what do you do?
Exam oladi. Exam imtihon oladi. Shunda bolalarni to'liq nazorat qiladi. Yonga qarab shuni baholab turadi. Berilgan bahoda o'tib ketgandan keyin chiqaradi.
The marking system of the people and students when they get
I see. So it's an IT related.
yes.
How many of you are working on IT related project? IT related.
Hozir
Related, yeah. How many? Okay. Anyone else person who wants to tell me a bit more about what they're doing? Anyone else?
Not just working with the student or the student project. He has a lot. There's 8 or 9. The main question is that how you can help him with this project.
All right. Okay. So, well, the main focus today on this workshop is something that we're going to discuss, which is called, and you can see it up there, is how do we develop startups with the least cost and with the least effort.
Minimal summa bilan ya'ni kam rasxodlar bilan startaplarni rivojlantirish va ularni ishlab chiqishi haqida gaplashyapmiz. Ya'ni shu bo'yicha yordam beramiz. Ya'ni bizning asosiy maqsadimiz shu.
So this is a focus on what we call minimum viable product. A minimum viable product. The focus is on minimum viable product.
Yani minimal rasxodlar bilan qilinadigan startup, ya'ni minimal shu hozirgi ya'ni minimal rasxodlar bilan ishlaydi.
Any of you familiar with the term minimum viable product? Anyone?
Do you mean MVP?
MVP, yes.
So, do you mean the definition of MVP or?
Okay, just see the definition. Do you know what it is?
Yes. Just a moment, please, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Mr. Marlon, yes? Okay, Mr. Marlon, I know some details about MVP.
Okay, excellent.
Because I'm interested in marketing and economy. And it's related to, it's very issue in our world because related to marketing and market. We have a lot of products, we have a lot of startups, we have a lot of projects, for example. But we know how to enter the market. In this situation, we need some strategies, we need some, how can I say, directions, and MVP is very comfortable in this situation.
Excellent. Okay. Anyone else know anything about MVP? Anyone else here? Okay. So let's see if we continue. So MVP stands for minimum viable product. So whether you're a startup or a big company, whether you're a startup or a big company,
Yani startup
big company,
katta kompaniya.
understanding MVP is very important.
Ya'ni ularning asosiy poydevori MVP asoslanadi.
So this session is meant to bridge the knowledge gap. This session is meant to bridge the knowledge gap.
Ya'ni
This session is meant to bridge the knowledge gap. To bridge the knowledge gap.
ya'ni
And provide clarity. And provide clarity. This session that we do today is meant to bridge the knowledge gap and provide clarity on MVP. You understand?
Yes. Bozorda va mahsulot bilan bozorga kirishda va innovatsion joriy kommunikatsiyasini.
Okay, excellent. So let me go to the okay. So this is the first outline. This is the first. Let me see if I can explain this. This is an outline of the presentation today. So the presentation is divided into two parts.
ya'ni prezentatsiyada tartibga bo'linadi.
Part A and Part B.
Bilan ya'ni ikkinchi bo'lim
So in Part A, we'll have a brief discussion on what is an MVP.
ya'ni MVP nima haqida, ya'ni kasbdor asoslar haqida gapiramiz.
The purpose of an MVP.
Ya'ni maqsadlarini asosiy muammolarni.
And related to the MVP, identifying the core problem.
Ya'ni o'sha MVPga bog'liq bo'lgan muammolarni o'rganib chiqamiz.
And as you start to develop the idea, it's building and prioritizing the features.
Ya'ni qurilish o'rni xususiyatlariga oid bo'lgan featurlarni o'rganib chiqamiz.
And then we'll focus on MVP development and launch.
Ya'ni MVPni ishlab chiqarish va ularni tuzilmaga, ya'ni ishga tushirish haqida
And we look at the aspects of feedback and iteration.
fikr va takrorlashlik, ya'ni
And then we discuss some key takeaways on the whole process.
ya'ni asosiy protsessda bo'ladigan asosiy joylarni konuşamiz.
So on part B of the presentation,
Ya'ni
on part B of the presentation,
ya'ni B bo'limidagi prezentatsiyada
we will develop an actual project
biz haqiqiy loyihani ishlab chiqamiz.
Dolzarb loyiha ishlab chiqaramiz.
using the MVP approach.
Ya'ni MVPga asoslangan holatda ishlab chiqamiz.
So we'll do the same thing. We'll apply the theory on the left hand side. We'll apply the theory on the left hand side.
Ya'ni
The same theory,
bir xil teoriya,
which involve identifying the core problem,
o'sha muammoni o'rganish
defining and prioritizing features, defining and prioritizing features,
ya'ni xususiyatlarni ishlab chiqarish va ustuvorlashtirish
and development and launch of the MVP,
va MVPni ishlab chiqarish va ishga tushirish,
feedback and iteration,
teskari holat takrorlash
future development,
va kelajakdagi ishlab chiqarish
and we'll do a conclusion.
va xulosa.
Okay? So,
Actually, can I see this as a whole? They way more complicated with Russian. They had way more English version is way more complicated.
okay, so can we change the
They just
Okay. So you all prefer the English version or the Russian version?
yes, the English word.
Okay. So, this is what an MVP is, okay, essentially. It's in English. As I said, the MVP stands for minimum viable product.
Yani minimal sağlıklı mahsulot.
It's essentially a foundation strategy in product development. So when you develop a product, it's a strategy in product development. It's a strategy in product development. It's the quickest and leanest version to be market ready. And it minimizes risk by allowing users tested, allowing you to test before a full-fledged launch. So, by launching early with very essential features, you can test your business hypothesis. Now, essentially, the MVP allows you to develop a basic product and launch a basic product without a lot of investment in time and money. Because if you think about a product that you want to do, sometimes you say, well, I need $10 million to do this feature, that feature, that feature, that feature in the product. With the MVP approach, you think in terms of the core features you want at the start of the product. And then you test it, you get feedback on it, and on the basis of that, you add more features. So the advantage here is that you're able to launch the product very quicker in the marketplace. And you get something called a first mover's advantage. Yes. Okay. But anyone understood? You understood?
Yes.
Okay. So essentially, the MVP is about, it's a mindset. It's about how you approach the development of a product. How you turn an idea into reality. How you turn an idea into reality.
Yani idealni sabit tatbiq qilishlik.
Okay. Let's go to slide 2. Why do you do an MVP? Why do you do an MVP?
MVP'da biz nima qilamiz? Ya'ni asosiy maqsad nima qilamiz?
Apart from what you see here, anyone have any ideas as to why you would do a minimum viable product?
Yani bizga nima kerak nima tushunamiz?
Anyone want to add to this?
Yani kimdir buni qo'shib qilmoqchi?
Why?
Kam mablag' bilan ish boshlashmaymiz.
Yeah, instead is that without any the minimum of the software.
Okay. The purpose of an MVP, as mentioned there, it enables what we call a swift reaction to the marketplace, because the MVP, you produce the minimum feature, you test the minimum feature, you get feedback on the minimum feature, on the basis of which you could add more features. So it helps to keep the cost down. So any of you, and I think some of you mentioned that you're doing some IT related. Imagine you want to develop an app on your phone, okay? You want to develop an app on your phone. Today I used the app Yandex for the taxi. Let us see what the developer not on your phone. Sometimes you might say, well, I need lots of money to do this feature, that feature, a range of features, some of which might not be necessary. The MVP approach allows you to identify the core features based on the core problem. You develop those, you test them, and based on feedback, you can now add more features to that product. So it actually keeps your costs down. All right? Most importantly, feedback from your customers is essential because that is the feedback that you're going to use to develop new features or to improve on the features you already have. Is that understood?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. Okay. I want to ask a question. I want you to give me an example.
bitta misol bilan
Yeah. When you were developing your product, how did you go about identifying the core problem? Can anyone answer that question? Let's take, for example, the product that you're working on. In any product, you have to identify the core problem. How did you go about doing that? How did you identify the problem that you were now able to develop solutions for? Anyone want to answer? To explain what you did?
Yani kimdir qanaqa mahsulot ishlab chiqarmoqchisizlar, ya'ni asosiy muammosini aniqlaysiz. Ya'ni qanaqa muammoga qanaqasi yechim topmoqchisiz.
Do you want to tell me about your product? How did you identify the problems that helped you to develop the product?
Okay, now I'm also working with. Can I speak?
Yes.
The friend. Now I'm working with solar cleaning robot. But the problem is with the app. I don't know how to control it automatically. I know the features, I know the equipment, I know the certain information, I have certain information about cleaning system, and we have everything except the IT program. That's why I have this problem. Now I'm searching for people who know how to make app for these programs. I'm working this situation.
And you, excuse me, sorry? Yeah. You're developing an IT-based product, is that correct? Right. How did you identify the core problem that led you to develop this product?
Can I speak a bit? Because translation is hard. Man, loyiha ishlab chiqish uchun birinchi navbatda loyihani etapaga yo'l davomatga qarab.
Before making the product or product, means the stages of the site.
I see. So you had some brainstorming, and you sit and discuss and look at the problem before you.
Man loyiha ishlab chiqishdan oldin umumiy loyihani ko'rishni yaratib olaman. Umumiy ko'rishni yaratib olgandan keyin o'zimda bor depozitga yoki qanaqadir investor agar qiziqish bo'lsa u bilan gaplashaman. Agar bo'lmasa o'zimda bor depozit bilan boshlay oladigan darajada insonni qilaman.
First we make the first proposal. After that, he finds the investor, he will target and start. If he didn't find, he start with all the problem.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Nice. And the use of the MVP, okay, this is some mention here. Hello? Yeah. For the MVP, it is important that you identify the core problem.
MVP uchun sizlar birinchi maqsadda muammolarni, ya'ni asosiy muammosini aniqlab olish.
And you can identify the problem by doing research,
Ya'ni izlanish bilan sizlar o'sha muammoni aniqlab olish mumkin.
doing interviews with a number of people,
Ya'ni gaplashish, ya'ni o'sha muammoni aniqlash uchun turli xil uchrashuvlar tashkil qilib, bir necha jamoalar gaplashib ko'rish.
and undertaking observation on the particular issue. Undertaking observation on the particular issue.
Ya'ni o'sha muammo ustida turli xil izlanishlar qilib, uni o'rganish.
So you need to understand the impact this problem has on your target audience. The impact this problem has on your target audience.
Ya'ni sana o'sha olishlarni ta'sir qilishi
And you need to gauge the market size of the people facing this problem. To gauge the market size of the people facing this problem. The market size of the people. So you want to know how many people have this problem.
Ya'ni birinchi bilishga kerak bo'lgan narsa nechta odamda shu muammo bor.
And from there you want to have an understanding of, if I develop a product, what kind of competition would I get from others?
Agar o'sha mahsulot
So do we understand?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So this slide, yeah, this slide is about building the MVP. This slide is about building the MVP.
Ya'ni o'sha so'lni tuzatamizni
You've got to start with brainstorming. You've got to do some brainstorming.
ya'ni sizlar o'zlarini loyihalarida brainstorm qilishingiz kerak.
So, all right. So perhaps you bring a number of your colleagues together and you sit down and have a discussion.
Bahs munozara o'tkazish.
Right. On the basis of which you could start building the product. On the basis of which you can start building the product.
Ya'ni foydalanib o'sha loyihani boshlash maqsadida o'rganish mumkin.
In building a product, you want to think through the features that you can add to this product.
Ya'ni tahlil qilishda asosiy xususiyatlar.
So for example, if you want to design a new product, let us say a software or an app for the iPhone, for example.
Misol uchun qanday dastur ishlab chiqmoqchilar, telefon dasturi yoki masalan iPhone.
You work in a group
jamoa ishlaysizlar.
to brainstorm,
Bahsni muzokara o'tkazasizlar.
to develop specific features
Xususiyatlarni ko'rib chiqasizlar,
for the app you want to develop.
ya'ni dasturlarda ishlab chiqarmoqchi bo'lgan dasturlar.
With the MVP approach,
Ya'ni o'sha
with the MVP approach, you develop only the most important features.
Ya'ni eng asosiy xususiyatlarini o'rganib chiqish xususiyatlarini
And those features
ya'ni o'sha xususiyatlar
will be in the initial product offering. Those features will be part of the new product you want to develop.
o'sha xususiyatlar
Shu xususiyatlar siz rivojlantirmoqchi bo'lgan produktingizda bo'ladi.
So, for those of you doing an IT related, let us say you want to develop an IT product. Let us say, for example, like look at Yandex, the taxi. They have you can call a taxi on the phone.
ya'ni taksi
Yandex.
ya'ni yo chaqirish telefon orqali chaqirish.
Alright. Before they developed that product, they would have sat down with a group and brainstorm and think through what features do we want. They would have developed a number of features for that product, for the Yandex product. But with the MVP approach, they would have selected only the most core vital features.
ya'ni MVP orqali sizlar asosiy kerak bo'lgan xususiyatlarni qo'shasiz, ya'ni o'sha loyihada nima asosiy bo'lgan xususiyatlar aks oladi.
Okay. So let's look at what happens after. So for the MVP development and launch, let us use the same example of Yandex. They would have developed the essential features to create an initial version of the product. So the MVP approach is don't try to build all the features at the same time. But just build the most important features. And instead of launching the product to everyone in Uzbekistan, perhaps you launch the product maybe in Tashkent alone in the first instance. And from there you can get feedback from customers. And based on that feedback, you can then add new features to the product. The point I'm trying to drive home here, is that in the MVP approach, you don't spend time and money to add all the features you want. But you identify the core features, the main features, you identify the main features. You build those features into the product. You launch the product.
ishlab chiqardingiz va uni qanaqa ya'ni ishlatishga qo'ydingiz.
And based on feedback from your users,
Ya'ni o'sha ishlatuvchilar, ya'ni mahalliy o'sha
you can then
foydalanuvchilarni, iste'molchilarni xulosasi bilan qo'shma xususiyatlaringiz.
you can then fix bugs
Ya'ni o'sha eski kerak bo'lmagan muammolarni to'g'ridan mahsulotingizni xulosalar o'tkazadi.
and do further improvements on the product.
Ya'ni mahsulotni yanada yaxshilash va sifatini yanada yaxshilash uchun asos foyda bo'ladi.
Again,
Yana
all of this is being done at the least cost.
yana bu hozirgi mana shu zina orqali minimal, ya'ni katta pul bilan emas, ya'ni sekin asta-sekinlik bilan o'sha minimalniy pul bilan chiqish loyihani yaxshilash.
So, once you have the product, once you've developed and launched the product,
ishlab chiqargan mahsulotingizni sotuvga qo'ydingiz.
you need to continue to get feedback.
Ya'ni xulosalarni, o'sha fikrlarni boshlaysiz.
To improve on the product further.
Ya'ni yanada o'sha mahsulotni sifatini yaxshilash uchun.
So you use tools like surveys,
Ya'ni maxsus kuzatishlar, o'rganishlar orqali
direct interviews,
jamoa bilan bo'lgan, ya'ni to'g'ridan-to'g'ri muloqotlar,
and analytics
ya'ni tahlillar orqasidan
to understand how your clients are using the product.
ya'ni tahlillar, so'rovlar orqasidan qanchalik mahsulot ishlatiladi.
So if a feature of one of the product feature, if a feature is not working well,
Agar qaysidir mahsulotingiz xususiyati yaxshi ishlamasa, ya'ni o'sha siz istagandek uzlar bermasa,
you might consider tweaking or removing that feature.
almashtirish yoki bo'lmasa o'sha xususiyatni o'rniga
So if your users are demanding a feature you haven't considered, if users are demanding a feature you hadn't considered,
agar foydalanuvchilar siz ko'rib chiqmagan xususiyatni talab qilsalar, agar ular yangi xususiyat talabiga qarab o'sha xususiyatni qo'shish.
think about how you will incorporate that new feature.
Ya'ni o'sha talabga qarab yangi xususiyat qo'shish, misol uchun
So based on the feedback, based on all the feedback,
xulosalar, tahlillar
you make the necessary adjustment to the product.
ya'ni qo'shimchalar va o'sha siz talab foydalanuvchilar talab asosida yangi xususiyatlar va kerakli mahsulotni ishlab chiqarasiz.
Okay. So what are some of the key takeaways here? What are some of the key takeaways? And I think I explained to you all the MVP approach is to develop a core idea, and that core idea is translated into identifying very specific features to address that core idea or the core product. So anything you do, any product you work on, any product you work on developing, there's a problem that you want to solve. There's a problem you want to solve.
Ya'ni har bitta qilinayotgan mahsulotda o'sha muammoni yechimini berish kerak.
Okay. And in trying to solve that problem, you've got to be able to understand fully what that problem is.
Ya'ni o'sha yechim muammoni yechishdan oldin o'sha problematik ishlarni o'rganish va tushunish o'rganish.
And the things that you will develop to solve that problem, the things you will develop to solve that problem,
Ya'ni siz ishlab qaysidir muammo borki, va siz o'sha mahsulot ishlab chiqardingiz, o'sha yechim bo'ladi.
is essentially the value proposition. Is essentially the value proposition. Okay? And the value proposition are all the features that you will develop. The value proposition are all the features you will develop.
Well,
You understand what a value proposition is? The value proposition is all the features you will develop to solve the problem. That's the value proposition. So you have a problem, and you come up with you brainstorm, you come up with an idea as to how do we solve the problem. All the things that you will do to solve the problem is what you propose into the marketplace. That's the value proposition. So the value proposition is now the product that you will have developed, the features in the product. So I mentioned Yandex, the taxi. Their value proposition was to give you an opportunity to book a taxi on your telephone. And if you look at Yandex now, they not only have taxis, you could book food, you could order takeaway, you could order groceries, you could do a number of other things. These are what you call features. So as they go every day, step by step, they're developing new features to include in the core product. But the core product wasn't about ordering food or groceries. The core product was ordering taxis, ordering a taxi. And they moved from just ordering a taxi to telling you how long it will take to get the taxi, to giving you information on the driver, the taxi number, and the telephone number, and you can press a button to call the taxi. All of these are features. So in the minimum viable product, you start off with a few features that is the core of the product, and then you develop other features. Well, there's groceries. So I've used Yandex to order food, to order groceries, to do a number of things. All of these are now new features. And you may have a lot of features, but you select the most important one that represent value for money. And that is what a minimum viable product is all about. Understood?
Yeah, understood.
You want to explain?
Agar bir insonning mahsulotni yaratishingizda aniq asosiy muammoni bilib olasiz, shu muammoni bilib olish uchun xususiyatlarni, o'zidan featurlarni ishlab chiqasiz. Shu muammolar hal qilish uchun ishlab chiqqan yechimlarni izlayapti. Investitsiya kirish uchun asosiy xizmat qiladigan narsa bo'ladi. Misol uchun Yandex oladigan bo'lsa deyapti, Yandexda qo'yganda undan ishlab chiqish asosiy muammoni qo'yib olmaydi. Va muammolarni yechish uchun nima qilgan? Birinchi telefonda Yandex chaqirish imkoniyati xususiyatini qo'shgan. Keyin deyapti, o'rtada haydovchi bilan muloqot amalga uchun nomerni qo'shdi, undan aloqa almashdi. Keyin undan tashqari yana informatsiya almashuv xususiyatini qo'shgan. Undan keyin yana nima qilgan? Ovqatdagi boshqa narsalarni buyurtirish xizmatlarini qo'shib turib, uni narxga olib kelgan. Demak, asosiy muammoni qo'ysak, o'sha muammoni hal qilish uchun bu yechimlarni ishlab chiqib, shu yechimlarni ishlab chiqishga asosiy vaqtimizni, asosiy yaratishimiz orqali biz marketingga borishimiz mumkin. Demak, muammoni qo'yish va uni yechimlarni ishlab chiqish.
Okay? So let's just see if we can understand it. So the key takeaway is that MVP. The key takeaway is that MVP is the starting point, not the end product. The first one.
MVP yakuniy mahsulotni emas, ya'ni boshlanish nuqtalarini o'tirish.
It's about validating ideas efficiently and minimizing risk.
Bu g'oyani samarali tasdiqlash va xavflarni minimizlash haqida.
So you need to focus on genuine user needs, on the needs of the users.
Foydalanuvchilarni asosiy ehtiyojlariga e'tibor berish talab etiladi.
A successful MVP effectively addresses a clear, well-defined problem.
Ya'ni omadli MVP asosiy, ya'ni aniq belgilangan muammolar orqali samarali bo'ladi.
So iteration and feedback drives success. Iteration and feedback drives success.
Ya'ni o'sha tahlillar orqali o'sha MVPni
Iteration?
no. Last one,
Okay, so iteration. Okay, so you have a product. And you decide to launch a product. But there's a problem with this product. Maybe it needs to be tweaked. Maybe it's not the right way. So you've got to iterate. You now got to go back and tweak and tweak and tweak. And sometimes iteration, let's say you want to go in that direction, but you're going in that direction, you iterate. You iterate.
Tuzatish, rivojlantirish.
Okay. So it means that for everything you do, all the products you're working on, once you get feedback from customers, once your customers tell you that, no, I need a better feature, I need this feature, I need that feature, you got to go back and what we call tweak or iterate. You got to change and change and change to improve and improve and improve until it reaches the very highest level. That's iteration, okay? And the only way you could do iteration is when the customers tell you, well, no, I don't like this, I like that, I don't like this because of A, B, or C, I like that, can you add this? So for example, maybe Yandex, they were doing taxis, but someone said, well, hey, why don't you do, I could order food as well. That's an iteration, that's a new product. Can you explain?
Mahsulot yaratishda uncha kamchilik chiqib qoldi deyapti. Shu kamchilikni darhol MVP orqali to'g'rilashni mumkin deyapti. Yana misol uchun yana Yandex misol keltirishdi. Yandexni taksi odamlarni burjuyliklarga boshlab foydalanadigan keyin kassalarga ya'ni mijozlardan imkon shu nimaga biz mahsulotlarni order qilamiz, taklif qilamiz yo'q, siz darhol o'sha narsani yana to'g'rilash imkoniyatiga ega bo'lasiz. MVP orqali. Iteration degani yana o'sha darhol muammoni hal qilishga yetish imkoniyati mavjud edi. MVP orqali.
Okay. All right. Let us go to part B now.
Ya'ni ikkinchi bo'lim, ya'ni bo'limga.
Okay. By a show of hands, how many of you eat organic foods? Organic food. Who eat organic food? Organic food. Healthy food. Healthy food. Who wants to eat healthy food? Who wants to eat healthy organic food?
All those that is organic food, this is
All Uzbeks want to eat healthy food.
Yes.
But do you know, since I've been here, it is very difficult to find shops that sell organic food. Can you?
Yes.
It is very difficult. But in Uzbek, I am sure you have places that sell organic food.
Yes, of course.
But you don't know where to find it. You don't know where to find it. You don't know where to find the food. Okay? So let's develop a new product. Let's develop a new product. Let's develop a new product.
Mr. Marlon, he is scientist and researcher related to buildings, construction buildings, and he invented new material, slab for construction. But there are some problems related to marketing, related to especially MVP, because he don't know about all MVP or marketing, even economy or even negotiation skills. But for example, imagine, you know, and you said that about Yandex, but Yandex have a lot of money, a lot of investments, a lot of foundations, a lot of, how can I say, members of company, employees, I mean, team. But there are some scientists and there are some people who don't have, unfortunately, no team, no foundation, business foundation skills and knowledge. And also, how can I say, even though investor and negotiation skills.
Okay, I got you. But let me just run this by you. And I'm gonna develop with you a new idea that can be converted into reality. And I'm going to explain to you why it doesn't need a lot of money. Yandex didn't necessarily need a lot of money when it started. Yandex probably had 4 or 5 people in a small room where there were IT developers, there were project managers, there were software developers. So imagine 5 or 6 of you, 10 of you getting together with an idea. You don't need a lot of money.
Yes.
You don't need a lot of money to launch a product with a few features. But if you're able to launch a product with a few features and it works, you can use that, not a prototype, that product to go back to the bank and to venture capitals to get money. And this is a problem with startups. You have a good idea, but you think you need $2 million to do it. And it's an idea, and you keep on going knocking on doors. Oh, I want to sell this idea. Nobody wants to buy it because they haven't seen what it looks like. How do you do it? The idea is developing a small product with a few features, launching it in a particular region. On the basis of that, it works. Then you go back and say to a bank, I need $2 million to expand this to the entire Uzbekistan. They see how viable it is, they say, okay, I will give you $1 million. Another venture capitalist give you $2 million. Another one give you $3 million. Don't expect that every time you do something, you need $10 million to do it. And if I don't get it, you're not going to do anything. You've got to be able to develop something, and not a prototype. Develop an actual product, launch the product with small features. You have an advantage because you've developed a product, you have first movers advantage. And once you've developed that product, then you can go to the bank and say, I need money.
Okay. I have an offer for you. Please, we have some products. That's a prototype of products. We work in a real product, select for construction. It's ready to imagine or how can I say, make to make. And we work on this product, and you, how can I say, you will send some information, give some information about some details about this product, how to, can I say, how to pass the MVP on this product. Please, describe, хотите ko'rsatib, rasmlarga olmoqsa? Rasmni ko'rsatib, plitalarni borib, tayyor prototip, mahsulot уже tayyor, chiqishga tayyor, muammolarni aytib, ular taklifini beramiz. Yeah, sure. Working on the system, birinchi kelgan
Maybe when we finish, let's do the presentation and then we talk about your product, okay? But what I want to do is to talk about how do you develop an idea, and particularly, and this is more related to like Yandex. This is an idea that uses the software on an app. So for those of you who can write software or can develop apps, this is about developing an application on your iPhone that starts off as a very basic idea, into a very big product on your iPhone that you could make money off of. Okay? So, again, let us start. Just read this yeah.
Tasavvur qilib ko'ring, siz sog'liq ayniqsa organik mahsulotlarni iste'mol qilasiz, ya'ni ammo Toshkent mahalliy organikani yetkazib beruvchilarni topish juda ham qiyin. Yaqin atrofda organik mahsulotlarni sotadigan do'kon va ferma xo'jaliklarni topishga kurashishni tasavvur qilib ko'ring.
Okay? So let us launch a product. We call it Organic Locate. Organic Locate. This is a new product. For those of you who can write software on application, this is a good idea. In Uzbekistan, many people want organic food, healthy food. And there are places you can buy, but you don't know where. Okay? You don't know where. So let us develop a product that we put on our phone called Organic Locate. And this is the same idea that Yandex did when they developed the taxi service on the phone. They came to the conclusion that people wanted taxis, but there was nothing available to do a taxi. The only advantage Yandex had is that Yandex knew there's Uber in Europe, and in some other parts of the world you have Bolt, and there are a number of other software that do that. So Yandex just took the idea from there and applied it in Uzbekistan. This one, there may be very similar around the world, but I'm not aware fully of where you can get it, maybe in the USA. But for Organic Locate, the idea is I would like to get organic products, fruits, vegetables, and organic food whilst I'm in Uzbekistan. But I don't know where to go. I don't know where to go. I go to a store, oh, we don't have organic food. I go to this store, oh, we don't have organic food. Then somebody tell me, yeah, there's a store maybe 2 miles away. And it's the same thing with diabetics. You know what's diabetic? Diabetes? That's the blood sugar, high blood sugar. I am high blood sugar. Every store I go to in Uzbekistan, the food is too much sugar. Too much sugar.
Yes.
Too much sugar. If you eat that food and you keep on eating it out, you will die.
Yes.
It's just too much sugar. So it's the same thing. Where can I find a store in Uzbekistan, or stores in Uzbekistan, that I can buy food and groceries with less sugar? And that's how an idea emerges in terms of developing an app on your phone that you can find a store. And you will see as we go through this one that you can develop something. It's not going to cost a lot of money to develop. You don't need a lot of money. You develop it, you add features, and then you can start making money from that product. Okay? So it's the same thing for diabetics. It's the same thing for organic food. So you all are very passionate about organic food in Uzbekistan because you want to be healthy, but you don't have a clue where to get that food. Or even if you do, you want to be able to use an app to get access to that place. You want to be able to find a store. You want to be able to call the store, like you can call Yandex and see what supplies they have, okay? And this is the idea that we want to develop. Let's develop an idea called Organic Locate, or we can call it Tashkent or Uzbekistan Organic Locate. That's the idea. And that is how startups start. You identify a problem. That's it. We identify a problem. And we build solutions to address those problems. You develop features,
xususlarni birinchi qilamiz.
and those features are essentially your value proposition.
Ya'ni o'sha asosiy bo'lgan yo'nalishlarni belgilab chiqamiz.
Okay? And that is what startups is all about. That is what, when you develop ideas, the approach they're using, which is the minimum viable product, is all about. So let's start. I did a presentation earlier, and I explained a number of things. I don't know how much you've taken note of. We have an idea. We have an idea, organic locate. Again, can you read this in the newsletter? Let's read it again.
Again?
Yes, let's read it again. All right?
Buni tasavvur qiling, siz sog'lom va ayniqsa organik mahsulotlarni iste'mol qilishni istaysiz. Ammo Toshkentda mahalliy organik mahsulotni yetkazib beruvchilarni topish juda ham qiyin. Yaqin atrofda yangi organik mahsulotni sotadigan do'konlar yoki ferma xo'jaliklarini topishga kurashishni tasavvur qiling.
Okay. So that's the idea. That's the idea.
Ya'ni ideya.
Organic locate.
Ya'ni organik mahsulotlarni topishni mana shu ideya.
What's the first thing we need to do? Now, you are now a group. You're now a group of people. You have IT specialists, you have project managers, you have marketing experts in the group. What is the first thing you need to do to develop this idea from reality, from an idea to reality? What's the first thing you need to do? Okay, let's get attention, hello? Right? Yes, yes. What's the first thing you need to do to get this from idea to reality? What's the first step here? What is the first step?
Birinchi qilinadigan shart nima, ya'ni birinchi qadam nima qilish kerak?
Lauren, details about demanding of people.
What?
Lauren, details about demanding of people.
Okay, that's one step. Any other idea? What's the first step? There's no wrong or right. What's the first step here? You have an idea. You call it organic locate. What's the first step to take this idea into reality? What's the first step? Tell me. Anybody want to answer that? What's the first step? What's the first step?
This article, thesis about, I am getting about, for example, market.
Okay, so you're looking at markets and market share and so on. Excellent. What is it? Anybody else want to come up with that idea? What is the first step to take this idea and make it into reality? What is the first step? Come here.
First of all, you need to know money because if you spend many your hours and your time and your money, after that you can buy or you can introduce your product into the market. You can promote your product because of the first step of starting your project. It's learning marketing.
Okay, so you said learning marketing. Any other ideas? What's the first step? You want to tell me? You look brilliant. Tell me. What's the first step to take this idea into reality? What's the first step? What's the first thing you do?
Sut kerak, farzandingizga nima degan bo'ladi? Mana shunday kelishadi. Siz o'shaga onalar bor. Ertalab sut tayyor keldi, lekin ketib qoldi. Keyin sizga sut kerak bo'lib qoldi. O'shani anglab ko'ring.
Okay. All right. Any ideas? Any? No, it's okay. Just any idea you have. Any idea you have. Come here. Hello. Madam? Any idea you have. It's okay. Whatever idea you have. What idea would you put this in?
Молочный масло берем.
Любовь, органик масло.
He will choose other way, like participate with this.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. You have an idea. What's the first step? What's the first step to take this, this is an idea. You want to develop an idea into a reality. What's the first step? You leave it. You cover it. All right, okay, let's hear. Yes? Can you read?
I think we should put in front of numbers ways how can solve this problem.
Okay, all right.
There are many ways.
All right, let's try someone over here. Thank you so much. Yes.
If take easy, I first write my idea, and second I research way how to get my idea.
All right, that's great. So I think, all right, let's yeah. Let's take what you've said there. All right. Look, when you want to develop a startup, when you have an idea and you want to turn it into reality, the first step you need to do is to establish what the problem is. What is the problem? What is the problem? What is the problem? It's not about marketing, it's not about developing a product, it's not about developing features. It's establishing the core problem, because the core problem will inform you as to what features, what solutions you will need to develop. So let's try it again. The first thing you do is to identify the core problem.
Birinchi qiladigan qadam yo'li asosiy muammoni o'rganish, ya'ni bilish. Bizda ya'ni mana shu mahsulotni umuman yo'lga qo'yishni oldingiz yana.
So that's what we're talking about here. Okay? So let's one way this order. I think it's okay. So do we understand?
Yes.
The first thing you do is establish the core problem.
Ya'ni asosiy yo'lda aytilayotgan narsa asosiy muammo. Ya'ni muammoni qanday shunday bo'ladi, ya'ni Toshkentdagi organik mahsulotlarni sotish yoki yaqin do'kon yoki fermerlarni topish muammo. Mana shu narsani kurashish.
Okay. Do we understand it? Everyone understand? Understood? Understood? The problem, the core problem. Before you start developing a product, establish the core problem. And the problem why a lot of startups fail. The reason why a lot of startups fail.
Ya'ni ko'plab startaplarni o'xshamasligi yoki ularni yo'qolib ketayotgan sababi o'sha muammoni aniqlanmaganligida.
The reason why it fails is because most times we do not understand the problem.
Ya'ni asosiy muammosi, ya'ni o'sha biz muammoni tushunmaganimiz uchun o'sha ko'plab startaplar yo'qolib ketadi. Ya'ni o'sha muvaffaqiyatsizlik bo'ladi.
Okay. So understanding the core problem is a start of trying to take an idea and move it into reality. Understanding the core problem helps to take the idea and move it into reality.
Ya'ni o'sha muammoni aniqlab olib, biz o'sha juda ham katta yordam beradigan o'sha ideyamizni haqiqiy hayotga tatbiq qilishga shu asosiy muammoni aniqlaganimiz juda ham katta yordam beradi.
To understand or develop, to understand the core problem,
Ya'ni asosiy o'sha muammoni aniqlash.
You need to do some research.
Ya'ni izlanishlar qilish.
You can talk to a number of people.
Ya'ni jamoalar bilan yoki bo'lmasa ko'plab odamlar bilan muloqotlashish, tadqiqot olib borish.
You can make observations.
Izlanishlar olib borish, ya'ni tadqiqotda.
You could do assessments. You can do assessments. Okay. So you do surveys and interviews with people who are like you who want organic food. So you get an understanding, an appreciation of the core problem. Very, very important. If you want to develop an idea, you start off with establishing the core problem, because the core problem will tell you what features you need to develop to address that problem. The core problem will tell you what features you need to develop.
Yani bizde asosiy muammolarimizni aniqlab olganimizdan keyin birinchi qiladiganimiz ya'ni o'sha xususiyatlarni o'zi avtomatik kelib chiqaveradi. Yani biz qanaqa xususiyatlar qo'shishimiz kerak.
Keyin aytmoqchiki, hafta ichida odamlar ichida yurib, so'raymiz kerak. Odamlar to'g'ri gaplashamiz dedi. Keyin ajoyib tabiiy mahsulot to'playdi. O'shani kelib chiqamiz.
Alright, so based on the research,
Yani o'sha
based on the research, there's an evidence gap. You got to this? An evident gap.
Shu ma'lumotlarni taqdim etgan joylash.
So there is a gap. Based on your research, you identify a gap in the marketplace for what we call a location-based service offering information on organic foods. And again, Yandex, the taxi. Yandex is a location service offering taxis. A location service because wherever you are in the entire Uzbekistan, you can call a taxi, you give it your location, that taxi gives you his location, it tells you how long it's going to take to get to you and how much it's going to cost. Alright? So it's the same thing here, a location service for organic food. We want to be able to go on our iPhone and get a map of all the stores that sell organic foods. That's one feature. But again, remember with the MVP, the idea is to look at core features, a few features that you could launch the product with. The most important one is the location service. Like Yandex is a location service to provide taxis. Organic Locate is a location service to give you information on the availability of products and the location of where to find those organic food. Okay?
Tabiiy mahsulotlar qayerda qancha borligi haqida ma'lumot beradi-da, takrorroq beradi.
Joylashuv xizmati yoki o'sha kartada yoki misol Google'da qonish bo'lgan masalan supermarketda qaysi tabiiy mahsulotlar bor. Shu misol taksini misol postida joylashuv xizmati yoki o'sha lokatsiya orqali xarid orqali xizmat ko'rsatish, ya'ni joylashuv.
Okay, so let us take the next step. All right? You've identified the core problem. You've identified the core problem. You now know what the core problem is. All right? Everyone understand the core problem now? We know what the core problem is. The core problem is I cannot find stores in Uzbekistan, in Tashkent, where to buy organic products. That's the core problem.
Asosiy muammo ya'ni Toshkentda qayerdan nima sotib ya'ni organik mahsulotni qayerdan sotib olish mumkin. Ana shu asosiy muammo.
Shu asosiy muammo o'sha tabiiy mahsulotlar qayerlarida va ular qanday bo'lishimiz. Bizim muammo o'sha.
Masalan, mana yaratish, masalan, qayerda sotib olishda emas, bitta buyum bo'laylik. O'sha buyumni kam bilan chiqaylikda, mana shuni qanday qilib jahonga chiqamiz, ichki bozorga chiqamiz, shu bilan Bu Jahon Bankida investitsiya kirgizish, mana shu mahsulotga. Ular misol uchun telefonlar narsa shunday. Kam pul bilan kerakli mana shuni ishlab, o'shani chiqaraylik. Davlatga sotaylik yoki jahonga sotaylik.
They're talking about this making some sort of product like for example the book or some sort of thing, and after that without NPP they make their own product, for example some sort of book, or with that how they make their business.
All right. Once you've identified, once we've identified the core problem, and we've identified the core problem based on surveys, research, talking to people, doing an assessment, what do you think is the next step from there?
Yani bize asosiy muammoni o'rganib chiqdik. Ya'ni tahlil o'tkazdik. Jamoalar, ya'ni xalq bilan o'rganib, muloqot o'tkazdik va asosiy muammoni o'rganib oldik. Endi keyingi qadam bizda nima bor?
What's the next step? Anyone want to tell me what's the next step?
Launch the project.
All right. But when are you going to launch? I mean, how are you going to launch it? That's a good idea. Launch the product. Any other ideas?
Yechim turlari. Yechimlar bor o'sha.
For example, how they problem solution.
Okay, right. The next step, you've identified the core problem. And how did we identify the core problems? You did observation, you do a survey, you do desk research, you talk to people, maybe 50 or 100 people, and they all tell you the same thing, that I can't find a store in Tashkent. So you know the problem, and now the next stage is obvious. The next stage is to now develop features. All right? Again, we're talking about an app to locate stores. We now need to develop features on this app. So those of you who are good at writing software, you can now develop locational features to address this problem. So the next step is defining and prioritizing your features. The next step is defining and prioritizing your features.
Keyingi qadam bizda o'sha xususiyatlarni o'rganish, ya'ni ustuvor xususiyatlari nima, qaysi xususiyatlarda ustuvorlik qiladi, ya'ni loyihani kerakli bo'lgan xususiyatlarni o'rganib, ularni o'sha yo'lga qo'yish uchun asosiy bo'lgan misol xususiyat ishlab chiqardik, boyaga aytib o'tganingizdek. Lekin hammasi ham bizga imkon emas, chunki MVPda shu narsa ma'lumki, asosiy bo'lgan birinchi dastlabki mahsulotda asosiy xususiyatlarni mahsulotni qo'llab yo'lga qo'yish.
Okay, so this is a step here, defining and prioritizing your features. You now need to develop features for the app on your phone. But you probably have 100 ideas as to all the features you need to put in there. You need to identify the core features, the most important ones, and only work with the very important ones, like the ones that you can do almost immediately.
Yani sizlar misol telefoningizga o'sha dastur ishlab chiqmoqchisizlar, lekin sizlar deyarli bor 100 ta, misol 100 ta xususiyatlari bo'lsa o'sha. Lekin bu narsani dastlab qilinadigan asosiy bo'lgan xususiyatlarni tahlil qilib o'sha tanlab olishimiz kerak.
Okay. So imagine again you're in a group, you are in a group. Maybe 10 of you or 15 of you. With software developers, marketing executives, project managers. You sit together And you brainstorm on what features we should put on this product. To address the core problem. Okay, so let's read the brainstorming. These are some of the ideas. These are the features. These are some of the features. Okay, hello. Let's focus. These are some of the features. These are some of the features you would have that you would look at in the brainstorm. Market integration. The user review and rating for stores. User review and rating for stores. Product availability status. Integration with stores for real-time inventory. Profile creation for users. Profile creation for notification for deals or new store openings. A community forum to discuss for discussions. And recipe suggested user available organic products. Okay, so these are all the features from the group would have brainstormed and come up with some of the more important features. But remember one thing, in the MVP approach is not to develop all the features immediately. Because if you do that, maybe some of the features might be of no use. And you spend a lot of time and effort and money developing useless features. So you take the core features, you look at the core features that you need, that you must use on this app, and you run with those, okay? So let us look at the 3 features in terms of prioritization. So for this, the 3 features you need to focus on is the map integration. Is the user review and rating. And basic profile creation for users. Okay, remember what we said about Yandex? Yandex is about integrating is a location software. It's a location software. Yandex is a location software. That's the main purpose of Yandex. A location software for taxi. The main purpose of Yandex is a location software for taxi. And that's the first feature they had on the software.
Yandex dasturini ishlab chiqarish Yandex taksi asosiy birinchi qo'shadigan funksiyangiz bu o'zi xarita bo'lishi kerak-da. Misol qo'shiladigan funksiyaga xususiyatlar.
So I'll just give an example of Yandex.
Yandex example.
What I'm saying is this. Yandex is a locational software. Organic locate is a locational software. The most important feature is the location, is the market integration, is being able to locate a taxi or being able to locate a store.
Yani asosiysi bizlarda o'sha misol aytadigan bo'lsa Yandex bilan bizdagi misol dasturimizda, ya'ni o'sha tabiiy mahsulotlar qayerda sotilishi, ya'ni bizdagi o'sha sotiladigan lokatsiyani ko'rsatib berishimiz uchun bizda xarita bilan integratsiya qilingan dastur. Ya'ni birinchi qo'shadigan narsamiz shunda bizda xarita bo'ladi.
And like Yandex, the organic locate also want to have user reviews and rating.
Ya'ni Yandexdan o'xshamasligi faqat bizda ya'ni foydalanuvchilarni sharhi va ya'ni ularni reytinglari bo'lishi.
So this morning I took a taxi.
Ya'ni bugun ertalab men taksi chaqirdim.
The guy didn't show up.
Ya'ni
He didn't show up. The taxi didn't show up. So I did a rating to say the service was lousy.
Ya'ni servisiga ya'ni dislike.
Right. And that is what the user review and rating is all about. That is what
ya'ni
user rating.
Yanada sifatli oshirish uchun o'sha reyting belgilash.
And when I downloaded the Yandex app,
Yandex qachon o'sha Yandex taksini yuklab olayotgan vaqtimda
I provided some basic information about myself.
ya'ni o'sha foydalanuvchi haqida, ya'ni profil haqida ma'lumotlar qisqacha
shaxsiy ma'lumotlarimda ularni
Essentially, these three
asosiy 3 ta g'oya
are the most important at this time
birinchi versiyani ishlab chiqarish uchun juda muhim bo'lgan g'oyalardan, ishlatiladigan g'oyalardan
to launch organic locate.
ya'ni o'sha loyihani start berish uchun kerakli bo'lgan 3 ta g'oya.
Okay? So let's just recap here. We started off by identifying a problem.
o'sha muammoni aniqlashdan boshladik.
And the problem was that we could not locate organic foods in Tashkent.
Ya'ni bizda muammo bo'ldi, biz bilamiz organik ya'ni tabiiy mahsulotlar qayerda sotilishini.
And the problem was based on research.
Ya'ni muammoni biz tahlillar orqali aniqladik.
And talking to a number of like-minded people.
Ya'ni o'sha jamoalar, o'sha xalqdagi ya'ni muloqotlar orqali shu muammo bizga kelib chiqdi va aniqlandi.
And based on that, we developed a number of features. We brainstormed and came up with a number of features to address that problem. But because we want to keep the costs down, we just introduced the core, the most basic features.
Ya'ni biz o'sha mahsulotni narxini past qilib turib, ya'ni bizga asosiy g'oyalarni qo'shdik.
And these three features are the most basic and most important feature.
Ya'ni mana shu 3 ta g'oya va xususiyatlar asosiy bo'lgan dastur asosiy bo'lgan qismi hisoblanadi.
For organic locate.
Ya'ni mana shu organic locate degan.
Or even for Yandex.
Balki o'sha Yandex uchun ham.
But today you look at Yandex.
Lekin bugun Yandexni qarasangiz,
and you see they have a lot more services and a lot more features on the telephone.
O'sha dasturga qarasangiz ko'plab takliflar, ko'plab xususiyatlar hammasi bor.
The idea is
ya'ni ideya nimadan iborat?
Develop a product.
Mahsulot ishlab chiqarish va o'shani qilish.
Identify the core features.
Ya'ni asosiy muammoni o'rganib chiqib.
Develop the core features. And then launch the product. And then launch the product. But don't launch the product in the entire Uzbekistan. No. Perhaps launch the product in a part of Tashkent. Right. And based on that, you get continuous feedback from users in Tashkent.
Ya'ni mana shu foydali bo'ladi, ya'ni sizdagi foydalanuvchilar tomonidan g'oya va takliflar.
Which help you to develop or tweak the features, which help you to fix any bugs.
Ya'ni o'sha taklif va xulosa natijalar orqasidan siz foydalanuvchilarning xulosalari orqasidan sizlar o'sha xususiyatlarni o'zgartirishinglar yoki o'zi to'g'irlashinglar, olib tashlashinglar yoki qo'shib kiritishinglar mumkin.
And improve on the features that you already have.
Ya'ni o'sha sizda bo'lgan xususiyatlarni yanada yaxshilash mumkin.
And possibly add new features.
Yana o'sha yangi bir misol g'oyani qo'shishlar mumkin.
Based on feedback from your customers.
Ya'ni o'sha foydalanuvchilardan kelgan taklif, talab va takliflarga qarab.
Once you've developed new features,
qachon sizlar o'sha yangi xususiyat
you can now launch the product in the entire Uzbekistan.
endi O'zbekiston bo'yicha start versiyada bo'ladi. Yo'lga qo'yishlar bo'ladi.
So let's look at the next step here. So you've launched the product. You have launched the product.
And sizlar ishga tushirdinglar loyihani.
And you've developed a basic user interface showcasing nearby organic stores on a map.
Rivojlantiryapsizlar, ya'ni xarita bo'yicha atrofdagi do'konlarni namoyish qilasizlar, foydalanuvchilarga.
In which users can rate and review stores. In which users can rate and review stores.
Va bu bilan foydalanuvchilar hamma do'konlarni baholab chiqishlari mumkin.
And from which you have developed, you've created profiles, user profiles. You've created user profiles.
Va profillar yaratish, buning orqasidan profillar yaratish mumkin va o'sha bo'yicha eng yaxshi qolgan do'konlar va o'sha do'konlar haqida ma'lumotlar bo'ladi.
With basic information.
Dastlab ma'lumotlar bilan.
And favorite stores.
Ya'ni o'sha o'zingizga yoqqan do'kon tanlab olasiz.
Okay. So let us say that Yannick, you have a profile on the app. Your profile is now on the app. Your profile is now on the app. But in your profile, the developers could now see your preference. Preference, they can now see your preference.
Tomonlaringiz misol uchun fikrlaringiz bo'ladi, preference afzallik tomonlaringizni oldingiz kutasiz, o'shalar ko'rishni degan bo'ladi.
And on this organic locate app, we now have profiles of all the stores in Tashkent.
Toshkentda mavjud bo'lgan hamma do'konlarning profilini bila olamiz.
That provide and sell organic produce.
O'sha bizga taklif bilan chiqarilgan misol tabiiy mahsulotlar bilan chiqarilgan do'konlarni qiladi.
So the software has user profiles.
Ya'ni
software has user profiles.
Foydalanuvchilarning profili, ya'ni bu
and profile of stores that sell organic produce. And profiles that sell organic produce. Profiles that sell organic produce. And the software has the ability to rate the stores. Okay. So you've developed a product. But before you launch the product, you need to do a pre-launch testing. And this is where the internal team, this is where your team, this is where the team will test the app for bugs, will test the application for bugs. And select a group of users, so you have in the pre-launch, a select group of users
ya'ni o'sha foydalanuvchilar bir guruh
provide feedback
foydalanuvchilarni
on user experience.
takliflarini o'rganib chiqadi va o'sha bo'yicha to'g'rilanadi xatolar.
So now you've cleared out the bugs, and in any software you have bugs. Now that the bugs are gone, the bugs are
Ya'ni o'sha
wiped out.
sinovdan o'tkazinglar, kichik sinovdan hamma xatolarni to'g'riladinglar.
You've gotten feedback from your users.
Ya'ni o'sha bir guruh foydalanuvchilar tomonidan talab va takliflarni o'rganib chiqdinglar.
You can now launch the product.
Ana sizlar o'sha loyihani ishga tushirsanglar bo'ladi.
So organic locate is now released to a small segment or area in Tashkent. Organic locate
Ya'ni
is now
organic
released
locate dasturi endi Toshkentning kichik sektorida yoki bo'lmasa kichik bir joyda o'sha
as a pilot. As a pilot.
Nima desam ekan, beta versiyasi sifatida o'sha sekin ishga tushiriladi.
So did we understand the process here?
Ya'ni protsessni tushundinglarmi hozirgi bo'ldi?
Okay. Let me do a quiz here. Let me do a quiz. What is the first thing you do to take an idea into reality? What's the first thing you must do?
Identify the problems, the basic problems.
Excellent, excellent. Got it. You need to develop to identify the problem. That's how you will develop a product to address this, to solve the problem. You've got to identify the problem. The first thing you do is to identify the problem. And how you go about identifying the problem?
In order to find the basic problem, we should resort and we should speak with team of people.
Excellent.
And with
Excellent. So we have one bright guy here, but let's see if we have other bright people. What else do you do when you identify the problem? What else do you need to do? Anyone else? Anyone else? You identify the problem, but to do this, you need to do some research. Okay? And for you guys who are into IT and so on, you do some analytics, some research, your observation, you talk to people, you talk to your friends and your family, you talk to a few people in the area, to get an idea as to how do they go about buying organic produce. What problems do they have in buying organic produce? So now that you've identified the problem and you've established the problem, what's the next step?
Brainstorm.
Excellent. Ooh, you're bright guys here. You brainstorm with a group of people. And why do you brainstorm? You brainstorm so that you could come up with the solutions to the problem. And the solutions essentially are the features you want to introduce. So you brainstorm, and you, on the basis of the brainstorming, you develop features. These features are essentially all the things that you need to do, all the things that you would provide in the app, in this case is an application, to solve that problem. Remember, the problem is locating stores in Uzbekistan. We brainstorm to understand that there's a problem. The problem is that people cannot find organic produce. You brainstorm, you do surveys and so on, and now you brainstorm to really identify and list all the features that you need to develop a new product. You might have about 20 features, but the most important thing is that if you do 20 features, you might need $1 million to develop these features. No. You take maybe 2 or 3 features, the most important feature, and you develop those further. And the most important feature for a product like this, and the same thing like Yandex, the taxi, is a locational service. A locational service. Locational service. Most important feature is a locational service.
O'sha joylashuv xizmati asosiy muhim xizmat hisoblanadi.
Okay? And the second most important feature is an ability to develop a user profile.
Ya'ni foydalanuvchi uchun profil yaratish ikkinchi muhim xususiyatlardan g'oyat.
And to be able to provide feedback, on user experience. Okay? Now, if we had IT guys, I don't know how many of you are IT guys, this is a project that you could actually do with very little cost, and you could launch this, if you know how to write software, you could launch this in Tashkent, a group of 5 or 10 people, you develop the idea, you launch this in Tashkent, and this is how young university students look at an idea, develop it, and launch it, and then they become billionaires. Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, all these people, it was a basic idea. They didn't have much money. They launched this idea, and then they were able to go to the bank and get more money because they could show that it makes a lot of sense. So they got more money. And look at Steve Jobs now, look at Apple. It's one of the largest companies in the world. It started off in someone's garage with 2 guys. They didn't need much money, but they developed the idea. Then they got funded, and it's now a big company. Look at Bill Gates, the same thing. You know, Microsoft, it's the same thing. An idea, you turn an idea into reality, you use the minimum amount of effort, the minimum amount of resources, you target specific customers, you launch a product, not to the entire world, but a few selected areas, you get feedback, you develop new features, you fix the bugs, and then you go to venture capitalists and to banks to get money to expand this to the entire country and to the entire world. All right? This is what a minimum viable product is all about. It's about the least effort, the least resources, developing the core product, and adding on to the core product as you go about. But most importantly, it's about ensuring you get feedback from your customers so that you could fix bugs, you could develop new features, and you could do iterations on the current features. You could make changes to the current features to develop a very good product. Okay? So, let me see if I can. So this is the feedback of that iteration. Essentially, this is about, MVP is about feedback. It's a continuous feedback. It's a continuous feedback. MVP is a continuous feedback. MVP is a continuous feedback.
MVP bu
Davomli foydalanuvchilarni xulosalari, doimiy ravishda xulosalar olib turiladi, shuni qaytariladi.
It's the feedback that's going to help you develop and improve the product. The feedback helps to improve the product.
Bu xulosalar sizni doimiy ravishda startap yoki produktingizni rivojlantirish uchun kerak bo'ladi.
And the feedback helps to ensure you launch a viable product.
ya'ni o'sha asosiy bo'lgan
Kerakli mahsulot qilish uchun shu xulosalar kerak bo'ladi.
So, you've launched a product, you have launched the product.
ya'ni sizlar mahsulotni ishga tushirdinglar.
And based on the feedback,
ya'ni o'sha taklif takliflarga asosida
you decided to introduce new features.
ya'ni o'sha sizlar yangi xususiyatlarni qo'shmoqchisizlar, ya'ni o'sha takliflar bor.
Okay, real-time inventory with partner stores.
Doimiy fikr mulohazalar asosida qo'shimcha funksiyalarni joriy etish.
Notification about deals or new store arrivals.
Hamkor do'konlar deal vaqtida o'sha do'konlarni integratsiya qilish.
And you can expand to other cities outside of Tashkent. You can go to Samarkand, you can go to other cities.
Shaharlarni, ya'ni joylashuv xizmatini yanada kattalashtirish yoki misol Toshkentda oldin qilgan bo'lsa, endi kengaytirib, ya'ni Samarqand yoki boshqa viloyatdagi yanada kengaytirish.
So remember, we didn't develop all the features immediately. We did not develop all the features immediately.
Birdaniga hamma xususiyatlarni birdaniga ishlab chiqarmadik.
We developed the core features.
Biz asosiy bo'lgan xususiyatlarni qo'ydik.
We launched the core features.
Biz o'sha asosiy xususiyatlar bilan ishga tushirdik loyihani.
And based on feedback, we improved those features.
Fikr va mulohazalar asosida yangi qo'shimcha g'oyalarni
and we added new features.
yana yangi xususiyatlarni qo'shdik.
And then we launched the product to a wider audience. We launched the product to more people.
Yana biza ko'p yanada biza maslahatlashtirdik.
So, this is a conclusion here. Organic Locate started with a simple MVP focusing on the core problem. Organic Locate started with a simple
muammolarga asoslangan, muammolarga qaratilgan, e'tibor berilgan, muammolarga qaratilgan ideyadan biz uni mahsulot ishlab chiqardik.
By gathering feedback and iterating, it evolved into a comprehensive solution.
Fikr mulohazalarni o'rganib chiqib, ularga biz fikr mulohazalar asosida biz minimal mablag', minimal risk asosida biz birinchi o'sha foydalanuvchilarni fikr va takliflarini o'rganib chiqdik.
Otherwise, minimize risk and meant to meet users' need.
Ya'ni o'sha foydalanuvchilarni nima talabi bo'lsa, o'sha minimal xususiyatlar bilan mahsulot ishlab chiqdik. Ya'ni minimal rasxodlar, minimal risk va minimal mablag'.
By using the MVP approach,
ya'ni mana shu MVP yondashuv bilan
businesses can improve their chances of launching successful products. Businesses can improve their chances of launching successful products.
Ya'ni rivojlanish, omadli rivojlanishi bilan ular boshlaydi.
So just again, let's talk about Yandex again, the taxi service. Yandex started by providing location for taxis. Then they included user review. Then they included profiles. Then they included systems that you could make payments with an account, with a credit card that is stored there.
Cash or
yes. Then they now have a service to buy food and a service to buy groceries. And there are a number of other features in the Yandex. But they didn't start with all those features. They started with a core feature, which is the integration, the market integration to locate a taxi in a particular region. And to show you where a taxi is, and to tell you how long it's going to take, and to tell you how much it's going to cost. And to be able to call the taxi, or the taxi call you if there's a problem. All of these are features in the product. But you don't need to develop all the features because you need lots of money to develop all the features. You develop the core feature. In the case of Organic Locate, the core feature was the market integration, locating stores on a map that sell organic food. A second one was the profile, developing profile of users. A third one was developing profile of the stores. And those are the type of things you do. Step by step, you launch a product with those few features, and based on the feedback, you can then add new features, change the current one, make changes to the features that might have cost. And that is what a minimum viable product is all about. Okay? I'm sorry I couldn't speak in Uzbek to really explain this in detail, but I just want to give you a basic understanding. I hope that you all have a basic understanding of the approach in launching any idea into reality. All right? Using the MVP approach, as we discussed it. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions? How many of you all think you could launch a product, maybe organic locate?
Kim mana shu baza bo'yicha kim ishona oladi shu mahsulotni ishlab chiqara oladi mana shu bo'yicha ishga tushib oladi.
Get some software developers. Get with 2 software developers. Get a marketing person, a product manager, and 5 or 6 of you could brainstorm and develop some features. If I stayed here for maybe for 2 continuous years, I will develop a software like Yandex to locate diabetic foods for diabetes, with less sugar. I will do just like what I did here. And once it's launched, then I will start making money from it. You can't make money from it because you can have people advertise on the system, and then you could have stores paying money to upload data on the availability and that type of thing. And this is exactly how startups, particularly those startups that deal with IT and applications, this is how they operate. This is how Bill Gates started. This is how Steve Jobs started. Very, very small in a tiny little shop or the back of in a garage. Develop an idea, test the idea, then get funding for the idea, and now some of these companies are some of the largest companies in the world. You did not start with a lot of money. You did not start with a lot of investment. The thing about prototypes is that you can have a prototype, you can go to everyone to sell the prototype, but no one wants to buy it because you haven't tested on the market. So I'm not going to spend my money or put my money there if I don't know if it's going to work. Test it. Do a small test. Target a small market, target a small segment. Get feedback, improve on it. Do a launch. And once you've done that, then you could now go to a number of people to ask for funding to upscale, to scale up that particular item. And this approach essentially is what you call a minimum viable product. Starting with a minimum in terms of the features, you expand and expand, but adding new features, but added features that will be profitable, that represent value for money. And then you have a big product. Yandex is very big today. But when they started this Uber was very small. It was a few people. Again, university students. And then it expanded into a big multinational company. It's very large. Yandex is the same thing. And so too, a number of ideas where you do startups. Okay? I hope that this program was useful. All right, and I hope that you all could take note of it, and perhaps maybe in a year's time, you guys could have a startup based on this approach. Thank you so much.
Mr. Azadov?
Yes.
Photo picture.
Sure.
Prezentatsiyani boshini qo'ying, ular solishtiring.
Thank you.
Very good. Other sorular?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, one more time.